Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stotra Shata Shishima Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णवृंद की जय, नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय, मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। All glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees, all glories to some devotees. Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Welcome everybody to Caitanya Charitamrita with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Thursday, August 21st, 2025. And okay, so we're starting with Caitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 16 28. Ramaj, would you like to begin reading today?
Okay, give me one moment. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jyotsnavati Ratri Prabhu Shishya Gon Shange Boshia Chain Ganga Tire Vidyar Prashange. Once on a full moon night, the Lord was sitting on the bank of the Ganges with his many disciples and discussing literary topics. Heno Kale Digbijai Tahani Aila Gongare Bandana Kori Babure Milila. Coincidentally, Keshav Kashmiri Pandit came there. While offering his prayers to Mother Ganges, he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Osaila Tare Prabhu Adora Korea Digbijoy Kohe Moni Avagya Korea. Lord received him with adoration, but because Keshav Kashmiri was very proud, he talked to the Lord very inconsiderately. Vyakaran Padaha Nimai Pandit Tomar Nam Balya Shastre Loke Tomar Kohe Guna Gram. I understand that you're a teacher of grammar, he said, and that your name is Nimai Pandit. People speak very highly of your teaching of beginner's grammar. Purport. Formerly, Sanskrit schools first taught grammar very thoroughly. And this system continues even now. A student was supposed to study grammar carefully for 12 years in the beginning of his life, because if one is expert in the grammar of the Sanskrit language, all the Shastras are open to him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was famous for teaching grammar to students, and therefore Keshav Kashmiri first referred to his position as a teacher of grammar. Keshav Kashmiri was very proud of his literary career. He was far above the first lessons of grammar, and so he thought the position of Nimai Pandit not at all comparable to his own. Vyakaran Madhye Jani Paraha Kalap Shunilu Antkite Tomar Shishir Shomlap. I understand that you teach Kalapa Vyakaran. I've heard that your students are very expert in the word jugglery of this grammar. Purport. There are many schools of grammar in the Sanskrit language, the most famous of which are the systems of Panini and the Kalapa and Kaumudi grammars. There were different branches of grammatical knowledge, and a student of grammar was supposed to study them all in 12 years. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was famous as Nimai Pandit, taught grammar to his students, who became expert in dealing with the word jugglery of complicated grammar. Almost anyone expert in studying grammar interprets the Shastras in many ways by changing the root meanings of their words. A student of grammar can sometimes completely change the meaning of a sentence by juggling grammatical rules. Keshav Kashmiri indirectly taunted Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by implying that although he was a great teacher of grammar, such grammatical jugglery of root meanings did not require great expertise. This was a challenge to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because it was prearranged that Keshav Kashmiri would have to discuss the Shastras with Nimai Pandit. From the very beginning, he wanted to bluff the Lord. Thus, the Lord replied as follows. Someone else?
Panchatattva Prabhu, are you available? Now, text 33.
Sure.
Thanks.
I put a couple things in the chat box.
Yes. Thank you, Radesha Prabhu. Okay, Radesha Prabhu writes, Gurur Avagya. And then Radesha Prabhu writes, text 20 says, Mane Avagya Pariya. You see how it goes from an offense in the mind to a verbal offense.
Continue.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Prabhu kahe vyakaran padai abhimana kari shishyete na bhuje ami bhujayete nari. The Lord said, yes, I am known as a teacher of grammar, but factually I cannot impress my students with grammatical knowledge, nor can they understand me very well. Purport. Since Kesava Kashmiri was a little puffed up, the Lord increased his artificial pride by presenting himself as subordinate to him. Thus he flattered him as follows. Kaha tumi sarva shastre kavidve praveen, kahanami sabe sishu paduya naveen. My dear sir, whereas you are a very learned scholar in all sorts of scriptures and are very much experienced in composing poetry, I am only a boy, a new student and nothing more. Tumara kavitra kitchu sunite hoiman, ripakare koryadi gangarak varnan. Therefore, I desire to hear your skill in composing poetry. We could hear this if you would mercifully describe the glory of Mother Ganges. Shunya brahmana garve varnite galagila, gati eka shata shloka gangara varnila. When the Brahmana Keshava Kashmiri heard this, he became still more puffed up, and within 1 hour he composed 100 verses describing Mother Ganges. Shunya Karila Prabhu Bahuta Sadkar, Puma Sama Pritivite Kavinahi Ar. The Lord praised him, saying, Sir, there is no greater poet than you in the entire world. Tumara Kavita Shloka Bhujite Kara Shakti, Tumivala Jana Artha Kimva Saraswati. Your poetry is so difficult that no one can understand it but you and Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. Purport. Replying to Keshava Kashmiri sarcastically, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indirectly minimized the value of his poetry by saying, yes, your compositions are so nice that no one but you and your worshipable mother, the goddess of learning, can understand them. Keshava Kashmiri was a favorite devotee of Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the master of the goddess of learning, has the right to speak sarcastically of her devotees. In other words, although Keshava Kashmiri was proud of being favored by the goddess of learning, he did not know that she is controlled by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Gurudasa Jayādvaita Swami Niti Namine.
there's some banter and repartee going on between Keshava Kashmiri and Lord Chaitanya. Keshava Kashmiri is about to find out that he's met more than his match. In fact, ultimately, he will understand that this is none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. But in the meantime, he's approached the Lord with an arrogant attitude, considering Lord Chaitanya a subordinate. Indeed, as Lord Chaitanya says, I'm just a boy. Lord Chaitanya is expertly, not exactly, he's expertly playing into Keshava Kashmiri's inflated opinion of himself and of his own skills. And he's going to do Keshava Kashmiri a great favor and blessing. Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj, would you like to say something?
Let's see. No, I think we can just appreciate points you've made. Hare Krishna.
We have something in the chat. Saraswati Mataji writes, Pranam Sparm Puja Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas who prearranged that Keshav Kashmiri would discuss Shastra. There's another question. Also, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dismantled the pride of Vallabhacharya directly for his offensive pride when he bragged that he exceeded the Srimad Bhagavatam commentary of Sridhar Swami. But here, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is flattering Kashmiri, a very different approach. Why?
To answer the second question first, well, Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Ayam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Dadati Shapadantikam. Anshagolpatarubhyas Chakrapa Sindhu Pyeva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram. To answer the second question first, we don't always have to deal with everybody the same way. It's not a cookie cutter. There's varieties of ways of dealing with human encounters or with discourse or even what's the word? Controversial discourse. In chess, the game is not always played the same way. Even the flexibility is part of the game, not being always predictable, not always doing the same thing the same way. Also, it's enjoyment. The Lord can enjoy dealing with different opponents in different ways. As far as the prearrangement, it's mentioned in, seems to me, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his life precepts, that it was the Brahmins of Navadvip who arranged this, because here's this Digvijay, he's traveling all over the country, and he's defeating all the biggest scholars and taking certificates, no doubt. I've conquered this one, I've conquered that one. And now he's headed to Navadvip. Navadvip was famous as a center of learning, something like Cambridge or Oxford or places like that. It was especially known for study of Nyaya and logic. So it was really a great center of learning, Navadvip. And center of learning means there are learned Brahmins there. They're the ones who and who's learning the reputation of the place rests. So now the Digvijaya is going to come, and the Brahmins are concerned that we may be defeated by this Keshav Kashmiri who's defeated everyone else. What will happen to us? So the Brahmins came up with this strategy. They decamped. They went somewhere else on the plea of an invitation and left Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to deal with Keshav Kashmiri. Their logic was that if Keshav Kashmiri defeated Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's not a big deal because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just a boy. So to take a certificate, I've defeated a boy from Navadvip, that doesn't say very much. And if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated the Keshav Kashmiri, then it would be known everywhere that a mere boy of Navadvip had defeated Keshav Kashmiri. What to speak of the senior pundits, even a boy in Navadvip had defeated Keshav Kashmiri. So they made that arrangement.
We have a few more things in the chat. We see in Chaitanya Bhagavat, it is mentioned that the Pandit took 3 hours to compose the 100 verses, and here it is mentioned an hour. So the difference, how do we see this?
Just like different reports from different people. Someone says, took us an hour to get from here to there. Someone says, took us half an hour. But it's the same thing. It took so long. Took us half an hour to get from here to there. It took us an hour. But the meaning is the same. The details doesn't matter all that much. 3 hours would be what? 100 verses in that's like a verse every 2 minutes. And in an hour, that's, 3 times faster. In any case, it's summarized by saying that Keshav Kashmiri recited these verses like the wind, whether it was an hour or 3 hours. You just compose them so quickly. Hare Krishna.
Panchatattva Prabhu writes, Lord Chaitanya also visited Sri Vallabha Acharya's home. The encounter was friendly and also corrective. Saraswati Mataji has a question. Because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu looked upon Kashmiri with adoration, means Kashmiri is very dear to him despite his offensive pride?
No. Asaila Tare Prabhu Adar Koriya. Adar means respect. That's the word is used in Nectar of Instruction. One should chant the holy name with great respect. It doesn't mean that there was some sort of deep loving relationship. It means that the Lord gave him respect. Adar. Adar means respect. Hare Krishna.
Radesha Prabhu, are you available to read the next text? 39.
Yeah. एक श्लोकेर अर्थ यदि कर निज मुखे शुनि सब लोक तबे पाइब बड़ सुखे. But if you explain the meaning of one verse, we can all hear it from your own mouth and thus be very happy. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Guru Dasa Jayādvaita Swami Namana. Just for context, no one but you and Saraswati can understand it, so please, you explain it now so we can understand. Text 40. Tabe Digvijay Vyakara Shloka Puchila Shata Shlokera Eka Shloka Prabhuta Padila. The Digvijay, Keshava Kashmiri, inquired which verse he wanted explained. The Lord then recited one of the 100 verses Keshava Kashmiri had composed. Text 41 in Sanskrit. Mahatvam Gangaya Satatamidamabhati Nitarang Yadesha Shri Vishnu's Charana Kamalotpatti Subhaga Tritiya Shri Lakshmi Rivasura Narayar Archa Charana Bhavani Bhartur Yashirasi Vibhavat Yad Bhutagunam. The greatness of Mother Ganges always brilliantly exists. She is the most fortunate because she emanated from the lotus feet of Sri Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. She is the second goddess of fortune, and therefore she is always worshipped both by demigods and by humanity. Endowed with all wonderful qualities, she flourishes on the head of Lord Shiva. Text 42. Eshlokera artakara prabhu yadi baila vismita hanya digvijay prabhure puchila. When Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu asked him to explain the meaning of this verse, the champion, very much astonished, inquired from him as follows. 43. Jhanjhavata praya ami shloka padila Taramadhi shloka tumi kaiche kantad kaila. I recited all the verses like the blowing wind. How could you completely learn by heart even one among those verses? 44. Prabhu kahe devara vara tumi kavavara aiche devara vara kecho hoya shuti dhara. The Lord replied, by the grace of the Lord, someone may become a great poet, and similarly by his grace, someone else may become a great Shrutidhara, one who can memorize anything immediately. One is a Kavivara and one is a Shrutidhara. Purport. In this connection, Shrutidhara is a very important word. Shruti means hearing, and Dhara means one who can capture. Formerly, before the beginning of Kali Yuga, almost everyone, especially among the intelligent men, the Brahmanas, was a Shrutidhara. As soon as a student heard any of the Vedic wisdom from his master, he would remember it forever. There was no need to refer to books, and therefore there were no written books in those days. The spiritual master delivered the Vedic hymns and their explanations to the students, who would then remember them forever without consulting books. To become a Shrutidhara, one who can remember simply by hearing, is a great achievement for a student. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Yad yad vibhutim atsatam shrimad urjitam evava tad tadevavagachatam mamate jongsa sambhava. Know that all beautiful, glorious, and mighty creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. End quote. As soon as we find anything extraordinary, we should understand that such an extraordinary manifestation is the special grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu replied to the champion, Keshava Kashmiri, that just as he was greatly proud of being a favorite devotee of Mother Saraswati, so someone else, like he himself, being favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could become a Shrutidhara and thus memorize anything immediately, simply by hearing it. The only small comment I'll make is that we have this understanding that people in former ages were less advanced, and therefore they didn't have books. And here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, no, the lack of books was because they were more advanced. Because it's impossible for us to imagine that people could memorize such vast volumes of learning, we discounted that, oh, they must have been very unintelligent. They didn't have any books, so they were fools. Just the opposite. They were so vastly intelligent that they had no need for books. What is our Guru Maharaj, anything on this topic?
No? Good.
Sorry, Sita Prabhu writes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, there's a lesson here to be wary of any praise. Sometimes a devotee can appear artificial in their rejection of appreciation. So how should devotees that deserve glorification react towards genuine appreciation?
Well, there are different ways that we've seen advanced devotees respond to such glorification. Sometimes they'll deflect it to their spiritual master. If I have any credit, then it's his credit. Sometimes they'll deflect it to Krishna. It's his credit. Sometimes I'm just repeating the words of Shastra, so Krishna's credit. In that way, deflecting. Sometimes they'll deflect it to the person who's offering the praise, that you're just hearing what should we say? You know, like you'll hear good anywhere, or you'll pick up good qualities anywhere. So that's another way of deflecting it. Sometimes, no, I'm just doing my duty. What can I say? No great credit. Trivializes, as it were, what he's being credited for. Sometimes he accepts it. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada sometimes accepted praise. It's the duty of the disciple to offer praise, and sometimes Prabhupada just accepted it. Thank you very much. Okay, what else? Yeah, maybe that gives something to work with.
Saraswati Mataji writes, Srila Prabhupada said in a class that it took an hour for Krishna to speak the Bhagavad Gita, and all who heard it immediately understood it completely. But now in Kali Yuga, most cannot get it even in so many lifetimes.
Yes.
Rari Gupta Prabhu writes, thank you. Okay. Now we're on text 45. Saraswati Mataji, are you available?
Text 45. Slokare artha kela viprapaye santosha prabhu kahe kaha slokera kiba guna dosha. Translation. Satisfied by the statement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Brahmana Keshava Kashmiri explained the quoted verse. Then the Lord said, now kindly explain the special qualities and faults in the verse. Purport. Not only did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pick out this one among the 100 verses and remember it, although the Brahman had recited them like the blowing wind, but he also analyzed its qualities and faults. Not only did he hear the verse, but he immediately made a critical study of it. Text 46. विप्र कहे श्लोका नाही दोषरे अभाषा उपमलंकार गुण किchu anuprasha. Translation. The Brahmana replied, "There is not a tinge of fault in that verse. Rather, it has the good qualities of similes and alliteration." Purport. In the last line of the verse quoted by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the letter Ba is repeated many times, as in the words Bhavani, Bhartur, Vibhavati, and Adbhut. Such repetition is called Anuprasha, or alliteration. The words Lakshmir Iva and Vishnu's Charana Kamalotpati are instances of Upama Alankara, for they exhibit metaphorical beauty. The Ganges is water and Lakshmi is the goddess of fortune. Since water and a person are not actually similar, the comparison is metaphorical. Maharaj, do you have any comments?
In the purports, we'll find the next couple of purports some discussion of what these faults are that the Lord found. And then they'll come up actually in the text of Chaitanya Charitamrita itself. Here, metaphor, it's clear water and a person are not actually similar. That's what simile and metaphor do. They take one thing and compare it to something else that's dissimilar in many ways, but has some similarity. So, classic example is your face is like the moon. So, a human face and a astronomical moon are not very close. One is made of flesh and blood, the other is made of all the stuff that a planet is made of. One is small, one is vast, and so on. But the moon is beautiful and your face is beautiful. So therefore the comparison is made. Simile and metaphor. The difference between metaphor and simile is small in English anyway. When there's like or as, then it's simile, and otherwise it's metaphor. Hare Krishna.
Now for text 47 from Brahma Prabhu, are you available to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. प्रभु कहे ना काही आदि ना कारा रोषा काहे तुम्हारा ए श्लोके की बा आछे दोषा. The Lord said, "My dear sir, I may say something to you if you will not become angry. Can you explain the fault in this verse?" Text number 48. प्रतिभारा काव्य तुम्हारा देवता संतोषे भाला माते विचारिले जानी गुण दोषे. There is no doubt that your poetry is full of ingenuity, and certainly it has satisfied the Supreme Lord. Yet, if we scrutinizingly consider it, we can find both good qualities and faults. Text number 49. Tate bhala kari shloka karaha vichara kavi kahe ekahile sei vedasara. The Lord concluded, "Now, therefore, let us carefully scrutinize this verse." Purport. The poet replied, "Yes, the verse you have recited is perfectly correct." Text number 50. Vyakarniya tumi nahi pada alankara tumi ki janibe ei kavitve rasara. Translation. You are an ordinary student of grammar. What do you know about literary embellishments? You cannot review this poetry because you do not know anything about it. Purport. Keshav Kashmiri first wanted to bluff Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by saying that since he was not an advanced student in literary style, he could not review a verse full of metaphors and literary ornaments. This argument has some basis in fact. Unless one is a medical man, he cannot criticize a medical man. And unless one is a lawyer, he cannot criticize a lawyer. Therefore, Keshav Kashmiri first depreciated the Lord's position. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was to the champion, a student of grammar, how could he dare criticize a great poet like him? Lord Chaitanya therefore criticized the poet in a different way. He said that although he was certainly not advanced in a literary career, he had heard from others how to criticize such poetry. And as a Shruti Dhara, possessing a complete memory, he could understand the process for such a review. Okay, I stop here.
Yes, Prabhu. And would you like to make any comments on this?
Prabhu, as far as I can understand from this text number 50 here, Keshav Kashmiri, not understanding the proper position of the Lord, he's thinking he's just a teacher in an ordinary school. How does he know what I'm saying? And he's just thinking you are just an ordinary student of a grammar. What do you know what I'm saying? But other side, he was astonished to know that even though I said everything just like a wind blowing, and he just captured one of the shloka in a very fast way. So both way he's astonished, but his ego has been hurt now here, and he's trying to put him down by saying that you are just an ordinary teacher. So that's all I'm gonna say here, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. We have something in the chat. Murari Gupta Prabhu writes, do you know where Prabhupada learnt Sanskrit? Would it have been at Scottish Churches College?
Oh, I don't know.
For our next text, 51, Barnali Mataji, are you available?
Not really, sorry.
Okay, 51. Prabhu Kohen, Oteeva Puchye Tomare, Bichariya Gunadosha Bhujaha Amare. Taking a humble position, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, because I'm not on your level, I've asked you to teach me by explaining the faults and good qualities in your poetry. So it's a great response by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's being called out as a mere grammar teacher. You're just like, you deal with mechanics. Grammar has to do with the mechanics of the language. So you're a mechanic. You're dealing with the basics of the language, and you're not really fit to enter into the higher stuff, the criticism of literary ornaments and so on, or appreciation of literary ornaments. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, rather than oppose that statement, accepts it. Yes, I'm really just a grammar teacher. What do I know? That's why I asked you to explain it, because you're a great person. So it's a neat comeback. Nahi pari alankara koriyache shobhan tate shloke deki bahu doshagun. Certainly, I have not studied the art of literary embellishments, but I've heard about it from higher circles, and thus I can review this verse and find in it many faults and many good qualities. Purport. The statement Koriyachi Shobhan I've heard it, is very important in the sense that hearing is more important than directly studying or perceiving. If one is expert in hearing and hears from the right source, his knowledge is immediately perfect. This process is called Shrautapanta, or the acquisition of knowledge by hearing from authorities. All Vedic knowledge is based on the principle that one must approach a bona fide spiritual master and hear from him the authoritative statements of the Vedas. It is not necessary for one to be a highly polished literary man to receive knowledge. To receive perfect knowledge from a perfect person, one must be expert in hearing. This is called the descending process of deductive knowledge, or Avaroha Panta. So first, the Lord's got another response to him that, yeah, I'm just a grammar student, what do I know? But as you've seen, I'm a Shrutidhar. I can remember what I've heard, and I've heard higher circles, capable people discussing literary embellishments, the art of poetry, and so having heard it from them, I can say something more. Srila Prabhupada uses this opportunity to speak about the importance of hearing. We may not be very brilliant. They're brilliant persons who can come up with so many theories and so many arguments. But if we just hear, we'll get perfect knowledge. We don't have to be so brilliant. We just have to hear. In fact, Prabhupada criticized those who were too brilliant as over-intelligent. They were so brilliant that their fertile minds can come up with so many things. Prabhupada, no, you just have to hear from the authority and accept. Hare Krishna. Gobi Kohe.
Raj, we have something.
We have something in the chat.
Venkatesh Prabhu writes, yet another instance where Mahaprabhu himself follows Trinadapi Sunichena. Amazing humility.
Yes. Gobi Kohe, Koho Deki Kon Gunadosh, Prabhu Kohen, Kohi Shuno, Na Koliha Rosh. The poet said, all right, let me see what good qualities and faults you have found. The Lord replied, let me speak. So we assume that the poet is ready to smash whatever Mahaprabhu might come up with. The Lord replied, let me speak, and please hear me without becoming angry. Pancha dosha e shloke pancha alankar kramayami kohi shuno koraha bichar. My dear sir, in this verse there are 5 faults and 5 literary ornaments. I shall state them one after another. Kindly hear me and then give your judgment. Purport. In the verse beginning with Mahatvam Gangaya, there are 5 literary ornaments and 5 examples of faulty composition. There are 2 examples of the fault called Avamrishta Vidyangsha, and 1 example each of the faults Viruddha Mati Punarukti, and Bhagnakram. Vimrishta means clean, and Vidyangsha means predicate. It is a general rule of composition to establish a subject first and then give its predicate. For example, according to Sanskrit grammar, if one says, "This man is learned," his composition is in order. But if one says, "Learned is this man," this composition is not in order. Such a flaw is called avarmishta vidyangsha dosh, or the fault of unclean composition. The subject matter to be known of the verse is the glorification of the Ganges, and therefore the word idam, this, or what is known, should have been placed before instead of after the glorification. Subject matter already known should be placed before the unknown, so that its meaning will not be misconstrued. This same issue has been brought up by Kaviraj Goswami in regard to the verse Ete Chamsa Kalapamsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, where Krishna is the known person. We know that there's Krishna, but what we don't know is that he's Bhagavan Swayam. So first we have what we know, and then we have what's to be known. That's the proper literary order in Sanskrit. In English, it seems you can go the other way, but here, in Sanskrit, it's a fault. Can someone take over reading for me for a little bit?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, we also have a comment or a question from Saraswati Masterji. Not to digress, but while some people, including devotees, never shy away from fame and recognition due to their extraordinary literary feats and achievements in bhakti, why did Gopal Bhatt, one of the Goswamis, not even want his name mentioned in Caitanya Caritamrita? Okay, we'll go ahead with text 55.
There's still some of the purport for text
Oh.
54.
Oh, where were we?
Continue at the third paragraph, I believe. Beginning with the second instance.
Oh, the second instance of Vimrista Vidayamsa dosha occurs in the words Vitya Sri Lakshmir Eva. In this composition, the word Vitya second is Vidya or unknown. Placing the unknown first to make the compound word Vitya Sri Lakshmir is another fault. The words Vitya Sri Lakshmir Eva were intended to compare the Ganges to the goddess of fortune, but because of this fault, the meaning of the compound word was bewildering. The third fault is that of Viruddha Mati, or contradictory conception, in the words Bhavani Bhartu. The word Bhavani refers to the wife of Baba, Lord Shiva. But since Bhavani is already known as the wife of Lord Shiva, to add the word Bharta, husband, thus forming a compound meaning, the husband of the wife of Lord Shiva, is contradictory. For thus it appears as if the wife of Lord Shiva had another husband. The fourth fault is punar ukti, or redundancy, which occurs when the verb vibhavati flourishes which should have ended the composition, is further qualified by the unnecessary adjective adbhuta guna, endowed with wonderful qualities. The fifth fault is bhagna krama, which means broken order. In the first, third, and fourth lines, there is anuprasa, or alliteration, created by the sounds ta, ra, and ba. But in the second line, there is no such anuprasha, and therefore the order is broken. It's time for your time. Did you have any comment?
Oh, did I have a comment?
I just saw you were unmuted.
Well, yeah, that was very observant of you. I just, before I looked at the purport, I wanted to see if I could figure out which lines had alliteration, which ones didn't, and it took me a moment. So I'm just appreciating how on the fly, the splendor of the Lord, is unlimited. Srimad Urjitam Evava, Srila Prabhupada quoted that verse from Gita in the purport. I'm just appreciating how on the fly Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you picked up all these faults and memorized the verse, and it's so wonderful. My little puppy brain, it would take me forever to figure out the faults, and I barely could figure out which line didn't have alliteration. It took me a few minutes. So I just was appreciating that. That's all. And appreciating that Srila Prabhupada breaks it all down in the purport. It's so nice to see such a detailed explanation in this purport.
Thank you, Radesha Prabhu. Panchatattva Prabhu, are you available to close this off with kirtan?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Privrajagacharya Astotra Sata Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Privrajagacharya Astotra Sata Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Brinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Shiva Sadigaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath, Shyamakund Radhakund, Girgordhan Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Gangamayi Ki Jai, Yamunamayi Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gora Premanande.
His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you,
Maharaj.
Panchatattva. Thank you, Saraswati. Thank you to all.
I hope you're feeling a little better, Guru Maharaj. I saw your automatic reply.
Oh, automatic reply?
Yeah.
Oh, that automatic reply's been there for 8 years.
Good, good.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks. And they worried. Thanks.